It was an incredibly heavy Juneteenth weekend in Chicago. The city saw a massive wave of violence that left at least 8 people dead and 38 others injured in dozens of separate shooting incidents across the extended holiday weekend. The weekend toll, incident narrative. Because these situations are actively unfolding, the Chicago Police Department, CPD, has not yet released the government names of most suspects or victims. However, the raw data shows a hyper-localized spike in violence that kicked off early on Thursday evening.
Thanks, Chris. A teenager is dead after a shooting in Auburn Gresham on the city's south side.
Police spent hours searching for evidence near 80th and Carpenter as investigators work to learn who fired those shots. Darius Johnson live outside the University of Chicago Medical Center right now with the very latest. Good morning, Darius.
Hey there, Dave and Dana. Good morning to the both of you. That 14-year-old boy was rushed here to the University of Chicago Medical Center late last night, where he was listed in critical condition. It was only less than 2 hours later when they announced that he had died as a result of those gunshot wounds. Overnight, detectives in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood continued to canvass that area as they worked to try to piece together a lot of the evidence to figure out exactly what happened to this 14-year-old. Take a look at some of this video. Police say that officers responded to 80th and Carpenter in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood just after 11:30 last night for a call of a person shot. When they arrived, they found a 14-year-old boy with multiple gunshot wounds. He was brought here to the University of Chicago Medical Center where he died. Back at the scene, investigators focused their attention on an alley. That's where we saw crime scene tape indicating where the boy was possibly found. You can see detectives moving between the alley and South Carpenter, walking the block with flashlights as they continue to search for evidence in the dark. Right now, no one is in custody. Chicago police have not released any information about a possible suspect or what exactly may have led to this shooting. That 14-year-old boy has yet to be identified. We're live at the University of Chicago Medical Center this morning. I'm Darius Johnson, CBS News Chicago.
Darius, thank you.
Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe now. Let's get back to the video.
This was supposed to be a joyous time. Neighbors say many people had gathered to celebrate Juneteenth when things took a violent turn. Surveillance video capturing what appears to be a barrage of gunfire. Shortly after, you see people running for cover. Chicago police were called to 95th and Princeton after a mass shooting around 11 Friday night in the city's Princeton Park neighborhood. At least 13 people were injured.
244 West 95th Street. I need crowd control.
Chicago police say a red SUV pulled up to a large crowd. Investigators say 2 suspects began shooting from inside the car before taking off.
There's approximately 25 shell casings, both rifle and pistol rounds, from 243 West 95th all the way to the end of the block on Princeton.
The victims' ages range from 17 to 47 years old and were taken to different hospitals. A 26-year-old man was last listed in critical condition. The majority of the victims are expected to recover from their injuries.
All of a sudden, you hear this loud ba 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 ba. I can hear the rapid fire of gunfire. And I said, oh no, can't be. And next thing I know, you hear the sirens.
Michael Blount was home at the time of the shooting. He says he's disappointed it happened at a time when people were looking to celebrate the holiday.
It was a shame that it happened on Juneteenth. That's what it's supposed to be about, celebration, not what just happened. You know, that was just purely wrong.
A motive for the shooting is unclear. Police have not made any arrests. Alderman Anthony Beal, who represents the 9th Ward, saying in part, in a matter of seconds, an ordinary summer night was shattered by gunfire. No one should have to wonder if they or someone they love will make it home safely. Today, Mayor Brandon Johnson was asked about the mass shooting and what measures police are taking.
Know that my administration is working overtime, not only to hold people accountable, to remove illegal guns off the streets of the city of Chicago.
Area 2 detectives are investigating. Police are asking the public to come forward with any information.
The violence started in the 600 block of East 92nd Place around 5:44 p.m. An unknown suspect inside a vehicle pulled up on a 32-year-old male and opened fire, hitting him multiple times in the stomach before speeding away. The victim tragically lost his life at the scene. Just a few hours later, right before midnight at 11:30 p.m., The streets claimed a much younger life. A 14-year-old teenager was shot multiple times across his body on the 80,000 block of South Carpenter Street. He succumbed to his wounds, leaving detectives working an active scene with 0 suspects immediately in custody. As the weekend rolled in, the blocks got even hotter. Friday night was punctuated by a horrific mass shooting on the South Side, where an SUV rolled past a Juneteenth block gathering and 2 shooters sprayed the crowd, wounding 12 people aged 17 to 47. Elsewhere that same night, an independent incident claimed the life of a 50-year-old man who was shot in the chest citywide.
The grim trend didn't let up as the calendar turned. On Saturday evening, an 18-year-old took a fatal round under his armpit during an open investigation shooting. By Sunday daytime, another young life was cut short when a 21-year-old male was discovered citywide with a fatal chest wound. In all of these individual strikes, the shooters kept the metal hitting the pedal, melting back into the city before CPD could make an arrest. The Friday night mass shooting. The most high-profile incident of the weekend went down late Friday night on the South Side. A group of neighbors was out on the block for a Juneteenth gathering when the vibe was completely shattered. According to CPD preliminary reports, a dark SUV rolled up on a crowd standing on the street. 2 individuals inside the vehicle produced firearms and started spraying into the crowd.
The casualties. 12 people were hit directly by gunfire. The victims ranged from a 17-year-old teenager to a 47-year-old adult. 2 male victims took the brunt of the fire and are currently fighting for their lives in critical condition. The getaway. The shooters spun away from the scene immediately after dropping the baseline of fire. Detectives are currently scrubbing area pod cameras, police observation devices, and license plate readers to track the vehicle's escape route. The intellectual take, deconstructing the why. The structural reality. When looking at why specific neighborhoods and liberal hubs like Chicago stay locked in a cycle of violence, zooming in on race misses the actual mechanics of the streets. Criminologists and policy analysts look at structural, economic, and governance frameworks rather than skin color. If you look at the situation through a structural and conservative-leaning policy lens, the breakdown of why these blocks stay hot boils down to 2 main factors.
The fractured block economy, gangs and social media. The old-school corporate gang structures of the 1980s and 90s, like the classic gangsta disciples or vice lords hierarchies, are completely dead. Today, the streets are hyper-fractured into tiny block-by-block cliques. Young people aren't fighting over massive drug empires. They are clicking up over hyper-local turf, neighborhood identities, and online beefs. A disrespect track on YouTube or an insult on an Instagram live broadcast can trigger an immediate slide, retaliatory shooting on a rival block within 2 hours. Combined with deep economic disinvestment on the south and west sides, you get a subculture where beefs get settled with hardware rather than hands.
2. The policy vacuum, the conservative governance critique. From a conservative law and order perspective, the finger points directly at local leadership, progressive prosecutors, and alternative policing models. The argument here is that when city governance prioritizes decarceration, reducing prison populations, and shifts away from aggressive proactive policing, it creates a deterrent vacuum. When cash bail is heavily restricted and rank-and-file officers feel like the administration doesn't have their backs, police morale drops and proactive stops decrease. Street elements notice when the state steps back. Without the immediate fear of swift, certain prosecution, reckless actors feel emboldened to pull up and settle scores in broad daylight, knowing the chances of getting caught or held long-term are historically low. This governance gap is exactly why national figures like Donald Trump stepped into the conversation this weekend, taking to social media to heavily criticize Governor J.B. Pritzker and local leadership, pushing for federal or National Guard interventions to reestablish absolute deterrence on the ground.
Subscribe to this YouTube channel to stay tuned on today's Red Stories. Until next time.